Trump hand-selected 3 members of the United States Supreme Court with the intention that they would undo the protections of Roe v. Wade, and they did as he intended. Oh, you guys are at the wrong rally.
Okay, watch this audience member very closely.
And I know we are all so deeply grateful.
Now, look at this guy, too. I promise you, this clip is totally unedited, and here is all the information of how you can watch the original video for yourself.
Who is voting for the Harris-Walz ticket in the 2024 election? Seriously. Who are these people that are voting for the Democratic Party? It just blows my mind that there are people out there who are willing to align themselves with the radical and evil policies of this party. I often talk about Matthew chapter 25, where Jesus says that he's going to come back to separate the sheep from the goats. On the one hand, he's going to have his people who he's going to invite to be with him in the kingdom of heaven for all eternity. And on the other hand, he's going to have all the people who are consigned to eternal damnation to enter into the kingdom of darkness for all eternity. And then I also talk about Luke chapter 12 a lot. In those verses, Jesus says that he comes back not to unify, but to divide. He comes not to bring peace, but a sword. He said he's going to divide households, mother from daughter, father from son. See, what a lot of people don't understand is that Christianity is a divisive religion. It's a divisive ideology. Because a lot of people just can't accept the hard truths that it's putting forth. It's a religion that calls people to surrender their self and follow Jesus. Do what Jesus wants. Do what's best for the kingdom of heaven. And a lot of people just don't want that. You see, the biggest religion nowadays is a religion of me. The religion of what I want. And we're seeing that play out in this election because people who vote for the Democratic Party, by and large, these are people who pray, my will be done, not thy will be done. And we see this with issues like abortion. They say things like, my body, my choice, not even realizing the fact that it's another body inside of theirs. They don't care about that because they just want to do what they want. So they vote for a party that lets them do what they want. And so how someone votes really does reveal what's in his or her heart. And that was true of past elections, but it's even more true here. You cannot be a Christian and vote for the Democratic Party. And I'm going to take it a step further. You can't be a sensible person who has goodwill towards others and wants what's best for the country and vote for the Democratic Party. And I'm going to provide 3 reasons why. Number 1, the Democrats advocate for and even celebrate infanticide, which they call abortion. Not only do they want to make it legal nationwide, but they want to enshrine it as a fundamental right in our Constitution, right up there with the rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Furthermore, they vigorously prosecute and persecute anyone who opposes the infanticide agenda or does not wish to participate in the act of high-tech child sacrifice. We recently saw several peaceful pro-life protesters who were put in federal prison because they were blocking the entrance to an abortion clinic. And what's crazy to me about that is if you look at the sentences that some of these people got, they're worse than the sentences that some of the rioters got during the 2020 George Floyd riots. There was one woman in Philadelphia, she was a lawyer who torched a police car, and she got a little over 2 years in prison. Meanwhile, some of these abortion activists, peaceful activists, got over 2 years. One even got 5 years in prison. Democrats are fighting for the right to abort a baby up until the moment of birth and even after. Tim Walz signed off on such a bill in his home state of Minnesota. Currently, there are 9 states where full-term abortion is allowed. Babies do get murdered after botched abortions. Remember when Governor Ralph Northam, former governor of Virginia, was talking about this? He said, oh, well, we'll just leave it up to the parents. They'll make the decision. We'll take the baby into the other room and then we'll kill it. Couple things you need to know about Kamala Harris. When Kamala Harris was a senator, she voted against the Born Alive Abortion Survivors Protection Act. This act would require healthcare providers to provide healthcare to babies who survive botched abortions. Now, why would anyone vote against this? To vote against something like this is just unconscionable. Harris was the co-sponsor of a bill that required pro-life pregnancy centers to put up signage directing people on where to get an abortion. Now, obviously that was a violation of the pro-life pregnancy centers' First Amendment rights, but Harris didn't care. I am so tired of people saying that Kamala Harris and the Democrats defend democracy when that couldn't be further from the truth. These people trample on the U.S. Constitution every chance they get. Every time that the U.S. Constitution comes between them and implementing their agenda, all of your rights are going to go right out the window. When Democrats talk about freedom, they're talking about the freedom to murder your baby and engage in depraved sexual behavior. That's it. That's what they mean when they talk about freedom. Number 2, the Democrats are all in on the transgender agenda. It was the Democrats who implemented the Title IX changes that mandated schools to allow men who identified as females to participate in female sports. And we've seen the results of this. Men have enrolled in women's sports and stolen the glory time after time from women who rightfully deserve the glory that they work so hard for. In many cases, these men beat up and seriously injured women. There's a famous case of a female volleyball player who got a brain bleed and permanent neck damage because she was forced to compete against a man who identified as a woman. When Kamala Harris was the Attorney General of California, she mandated the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation to provide sex change surgery to any male inmate who wanted to transition to become a female. Furthermore, these prisons then had to transfer the men to women's prisons. And we've seen what's happened across the country when this kind of nonsense gets implemented. These men are getting moved into women's prisons. They start having sex with the women. They either have sex with them or they rape them. And then these women are getting impregnated. See, that's what people need to realize, is that criminals, they will take advantage of every little thing to continue to commit more crimes and engage in criminal behavior. They will seize on every opportunity. And the Democrats have given criminals a perfect loophole in order for them to be able to have sex with women and rape women in prison. The left is indoctrinating children in schools with this transgender ideology, and they're even encouraging them to transition to another gender. In some cases, they are keeping this information from the parents. They claim, oh, well, we need to keep this information from the parents in order to protect the child. But let me tell you something. If you ever keep something from a child's parent, you do not have that child's best interest at heart. In California, lawmakers already approved a bill that would require courts, among other factors, to consider whether a parent actually affirms the gender dysphoria of a child. So, in a custody battle, if one parent thinks that their child is the other gender and they're affirming the child's gender dysphoria, then that parent is going to be more likely to get custody of that child or more visitation rights. And I want people to pay attention to this, because that bill is a precursor to more bills that are going to come down the pipeline where they're going to take more and more rights away from the parents. The state is going to come in and slowly, inch by inch, they're going to start implementing these changes that are going to allow the state to take children out of their parents' homes. So it's important to pay attention to bills like this, because this is just the beginning. I cannot overstate just how evil and nefarious the transgender agenda is. No Christian can vote for this agenda. It is a social contagion that has been hoisted upon us by force. It is an anti-God, anti-biblical, and anti-human ideology. Number 3, illegal immigration. During the Biden-Harris presidency, millions of illegal immigrants have poured across our southern border, and they are overwhelming our resources. Even several Democratic mayors have said that they just can't take care of these people. They have said that they are being overwhelmed. New York City Mayor Eric Adams said that these illegal immigrants are destroying New York City. During his first few days in office, President Biden signed over 90 executive orders that abolished all of the policies that were shown to be effective in stopping the flow of illegal immigration. Most significantly, the policy requiring illegals to be detained through deportation either in the U.S. or in Mexico. These people were released, and a sizable amount have gone on to commit serious crimes in the United States. These people have gone on to commit crimes like rape, robbery and murder. They've gone on to hurt and kill police officers, and that should have never happened. Illegal immigrant gangs have taken over entire apartment complexes in Aurora, Colorado, and Chicago, Illinois. Illegal immigration is anti-biblical. Think about it like this. Heaven has a strict immigration policy, but hell has open borders. And just remember the whole reason for the illegal immigration agenda. The left is importing a new citizenry. They want a permanent underclass of people who always need to be taken care of, who will always vote Democrats so that they get their free handouts. Once the Democrats have complete control, complete electoral power, then they're going to initiate the Great Reset and get us part of this globalist movement, and then they're going to move towards a one-world government. And God does not want a one-world government. If you look at the Bible, at that story about the Tower of Babel, it was about a bunch of people who came together who tried to do something in their own strength without God. They started to build a tower towards heaven. Well, God knocked that tower down, and what he did was he took those people and spread them to different corners of the earth so they would not be able to work together again to do something like that again. And so that's what we're seeing happening now. We have these globalist elites who are trying to create a one-world government, and make no mistake about it, it's going to be an anti-God, anti-Christ, anti-religion, anti-freedom government. It's going to be a government in which we are all enslaved, and we are going to be at the whims of a tyrannical oligarchy that reigns at the top. So for these three reasons, no sensible person of goodwill can vote for the Democratic Party. And there's absolutely no excuse for a Christian to vote for this party. Every Christian is going to have to stand before God one day and give an account of their lives, of everything that they've done, and that includes who they voted for. Christianity isn't just a label, it's a lifestyle. You have to do what's right in every realm of life. You can't just put a pause on your Christianity when it comes to politics or anything else. I like the way that Pastor Mark Driscoll put it. He said that you cannot pray, "Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven," and then go vote for Kamala Harris and the Democrats.
It is impossible to separate our politics from our belief that God is the creator and the authority over all things. We cannot separate what he says about the dignity of human life. We cannot separate what he says in the very first chapter of the first book of the Bible, of the definition of marriage, Genesis 1:27, the definition of male and female, Genesis 1:27. We can't separate the knowledge that he gives us graciously and clearly in that first chapter of the Bible from what we think and do politically. Because for the Christian, these issues are not primarily political. They're not primarily culture war issues. They're primarily biblical issues.